Throughout all of my life, my childhood and young adulthood, I think there's been one thing in particular, one program that's developed me, and not just as a leader, but as a character. My name is Dakota Richter, and I am a young Marine. Young Marines was conceived by a group of Marine Corps Leaguers in Waterbury, Connecticut in 1959. And then in 1993, we were officially adopted by the United States Marine Corps as their Youth Drug Demand Reduction Program.
I think the foundation for the United States Marine Corps is one on structure and discipline. And so too is at the foundation of the Young Marine program, structure and discipline. What we want to do is we want to bring a bunch of young kids together and provide them with opportunities that they may never would have had they not joined the Young Marines. And that includes character building. It teaches them not to be afraid to make decisions, and it's okay that if your decision doesn't work out, it's okay to fail. You learn something from failure. And we want to encourage the Young Marines to seize every opportunity to take charge. And ultimately, we want our units to be run by the Young Marines themselves.
There's this grave misconception that it's for troubled youth or it's just for a military mindset, and it's neither of those two. It's for good kids who want to better themselves as leaders, whether or not they see a future for themselves in our military. Hoorah! So you go through that initial recruit training, and after that, you're just set free into this unit, which instantly becomes your family. You do physical training every day, United States history, military history, and then from there you do close order drill, just from the Marine Corps manual. You learn how to wear your uniform correctly, but more so than that, you learn how to embody everything your uniform represents. And so that's truly the basis for our program, or our 300 plus units across the country. I'm from the Northern Kentucky unit. I was an extremely shy 11-year-old girl when I joined, and those 8 weeks, every single Saturday out in the mud and the dirty grass, which I could not stand, they changed me, and they really did. And so I came out a stronger, more confident, I could look people in the eye, that type of girl. And from there on, I just catapulted throughout this program, and it's been 7 years since, and every single drill, every single moment has meant so much in the building of my character.
I think it just gave her this confidence and helped her just come out of her shell and blossom into what she's become today.
I get all the perks of being a high school student. I still get to spend time with my friends in school and do all the clubs and sports I want to, but I have this other thing that means the world to me.
But you can see the women Marines depicted in this poster. And the woman Marine became known as Molly Marine. And our focus on veterans stems from the Young Marines, actually, giving me their appraisal of their experiences, if you will, when we were invited to participate in the commemoration of the landing at Incheon, and we went to Korea. To a Young Marine, they all said, the fact that we will never look at some old man as just somebody's grandpa ever again, that we'll look at that person as potentially having served this nation and maybe even in Korea or Vietnam. And they said that was really special to us, is having that chance to interact with them. And it dawned on me, this is a golden opportunity for us to do something for veterans. And so we started the Young Marine Veterans Appreciation Week. We didn't want to just have a day. We didn't want to carve out just a day. So we carved out a whole week. That week has become a year-long endeavor around the country, in the communities, so that Young Marines, any chance they get, they find veterans in their communities and they do something for them.
As a young Marine, it was constantly ingrained in us that, it was the veterans that have paid it forward for us to be able to, be here in a free country. Probably the biggest experience that I had was being able to travel to Iwo Jima with veterans from that battle, and to be able to hear their stories and to be where the stories actually happened was a tremendous experience. And that gave me a better appreciation of what history is and what the veterans have done to us, because it's that living history, and to hear it from the people that actually did it was an amazing experience.
I think it's a great idea to remember and respect the people that have died and sacrificed everything so that we can live here and be in this very spot. And when I'm not in uniform and I recognize a veteran from any service, any war, I go shake his hand and thank him for his service.
We have kids go out in communities and mow lawns for veterans and hand out free dinners for veterans and host huge events for them just to make them feel welcome. And then also, just everywhere we go, we thank veterans for their service. And that's one thing that makes our program stand out amongst others, is our kids are truly taught in values of appreciating and respecting our nation's heroes.
But when they work with the veterans, that's where the magic comes in. And I've seen some of the veterans actually break down and cry because some kid came up to them and talked to them and thanked them for what they did. And some of these veterans have nobody left. There's no family. These little kids come up to them, and of course it's a great thing for the children. They meet an Iwo Jima veteran today. A few years from now, they'll all be gone. A good example is the code talkers. There won't be any more of them. The young Marines meet them. Years from now, they can say, I met a Navajo code talker, the real McCoy.
And my experiences have been that many times the veterans do not open up. Sometimes they're family members. But when they see these kids who with the title Young Marine, that closeness, that sharing of that title to some degree, the veterans open up and they get to share their experiences. And I think for some of them, it may be somewhat of a relief.
Well, I served in the war. They can call it whatever the hell they want, but it was the war to me. Thank you for being here. You are great, just great.
As I reflect back on it, I think that the veterans took to the kids so quickly because they realized that even though you're in the Young Marines, you're wearing the uniform of our country, and I was your age when I put on the uniform and I landed on the beaches of Guam or Iwo Jima. And so the connection was instant. The kids may change, they may cycle out and a new group cycles in, but the end result is always the same. And it's amazing.
Well, our motto for this trip is teaching today's youth about yesterday's heroes. What we're finding is many of these veterans, especially the Navajo code talkers, their stories are dying when they pass away. We definitely do not want these amazing men to be forgotten. So our young Marines come here, learn as much as they possibly can about the veterans, and then they share the stories with their fellow classmates, with their teachers, as well as with their friends. And now many more people know about the Navajo code talkers just because of the young Marines.
In 1942, when we were going into the Pacific campaign, we had no way to secure our communications against the Japanese. So there was an idea formulated to use Navajo, the language, to encrypt communications. Little did we realize that they would serve with honor and distinction and leave a lasting legacy in the history of our country and the history of the Marine Corps. It took them a long time to get recognized after World War II because of the secrecy of the program. So, between the end of World War II, it wasn't until 1982 that President Reagan actually recognized the code talkers and established Code Talker Day. So I think it's important that we keep that alive.
Sometimes the Navajo people forget to honor us. In many cases, the only time they came around is when we have the young Marines come in once a year. Otherwise, we travel to Korea, Japan, Iwo Jima, all the Mariana Islands.
Navajo Kotaker Day means they saved many lives and they helped build this country to what it is now. I think that it's just crucial for the young Marines and anybody at my age to still honor what history has done and who did it and why they did it.
I was just speechless. I couldn't ask him a question because I was just digesting everything that he was saying.
World War II and Korea, I have 6 deployments.
Oh, those guys are walking history. They tell their stories and we listen. It's very emotional to hear why they joined the Marines, what was training like, and it's just so amazing to hear these people.
I don't think you can find a more iconic setting than at the base of Window Rock, the home of the Navajo Nation and the home of the Navajo Code Talker. A lot has been written, a lot has been said, and it's been done on the big screen, what the Navajo Code Talkers mean to the successful campaign in the Pacific. But even though we lose some of the Navajo Code Talkers each year, I think we lost 2 last year, the turnout and the respect shown to the Navajo Code Talkers and the respect paid to them in tribute for their work against the Japanese during the campaign for the Pacific is just incredible. You know, the general public needs to know that somebody is looking out for their legacy, and that somebody's the young Marines, and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Welcoming you to the day that we remember Pearl Harbor 72 years ago today, and recognize those whose service and sacrifice provide the freedom and liberty that each of us enjoy today.
A lot of them don't know what happened here on December 7th. But by interacting with some of the veterans, not only do they learn what happened, but they learn it from the people who were actually making history at the time.
I was here for 2 years ago, and it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to meet the veterans that were here, and they're slowly passing away, so soon there won't be any of them left, and it's truly a humbling opportunity to be part of it. I come from a place where freedom isn't always free, and it's nice to see those that have fought for freedom be here so I can thank them for their service.
You know, you talk to these veterans and just the values that they hold and everything they cherish. That's so against everything we cherish now, almost. It's a dying generation, and it's a shame that it's doing so, but we can learn so much from them. And so to be here as a 17-year-old girl and meet these wonderful heroes and to be able to honor all of the fallen, that's absolutely amazing.
What the young Marines learn from that experience is something you can never learn from a history book.
It changes your perspective on it, hearing it from their side of the story, or seeing maybe some of them actually contradict what they say in some of the history books, and it becomes personal when you hear the real stories about what actually happened.
Of setting foot on Iwo Jima, the most iconic battle for the Pacific, is probably going to be a defining moment for most of them. They've all studied the battle. They all know what this means to them, and everybody knows about the flag raising on Suribachi, and the whole notion that they're actually going to be standing on the top of that mountain looking down on the landing beaches is probably going to be a surreal experience for them, as it was for me the first time I did it. So I think at that point, all of the discussions that they've heard, all of the stories that they heard, all the experiences that they've heard will suddenly come together, and they're going to get it. And it's, as I like to say, a magic moment.
What they're doing is learning now. By associating with these guys who sacrificed a lot, they're learning the meaning of contributing by being team members. And I think it bolsters their inner spirit and makes them stronger mentally, emotionally. And I think they gain a great deal of benefit about their trip to Iwo Jima.
They landed on February 19th, 1945. They made it to the top of Suribachi on February 23rd, but the battle lasted until March 26th.
From the minute all of us set foot on this island, they said that you were considered a rifleman, and that was true. Everybody had a rifle and everybody was getting shot at.
When I made the landing, my boat was hit broadside by another boat.
The LCVPs would get run up on the beach, and as they were sitting there, the surf just turned them sideways.
I continued on and got my troops ashore, and we had to dig in and ourselves because my boat was sinking.
They estimate somewhere in excess of 20,000 Japanese soldiers were dug in, and when I say dug in, they weren't just in fighting positions. They were underground. There were 17 miles of tunnels. They waited until the Marines had come ashore, established a lodgment, and then just started pounding.
They started shooting at us then, you know, I mean big time.
Worked our way up the beach amongst or during the shrapnel coming in and ducking every few yards, and we finally got out almost down to Suribachi.
They got a few of the guys, but the Lord was on my side, I guess, and they never did get me.
Those guys today, you can't believe the peace you see today against the carnage you saw then.
Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for a friend. We left 6,800 of them.
Students are really not taught the value of American sacrifice in World War II. They've heard the term the greatest generation, and they may have seen a movie or two, but schools today do not teach World War II history the same as they did for my generation.
When something dire or momentous occasion occurs, you step forward and do what you do in spite of the consequences.
Yes, sir. They need to know, they need to understand America's sacrifice, and this is the place to come and learn about it. The kids are going to take back a knowledge of what took place, what these gentlemen had to go through, and their experiences are something that just you can't fathom. I think the kids are going to walk away from here with a sense of respect for the veterans. They're going to have a better understanding of history, and hopefully one day they can instill this in their children or their grandchildren.
Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. They may never serve in the service, but at least they'll have the knowledge that they can carry on with, and that's important. They're the storytellers of the future.
I just want to say I'm humbled just to sit here next to you, sir. You might not consider yourself a hero, but I think that the actions that you do throughout history in your life definitely make you a hero. And I think we all are a testament here to that. And I'm just immensely proud and fortunate that I'm alive here today, sitting next to you.
Well, I'm going to congratulate all of you. Take your hand and I'll shake all of your hands.
Well, having talked to the vets, it's incredible to get a firm, just uncensored, unadulterated, first-hand account of what exactly happened in the Pacific all those years ago. It's something that you've learned in school, but you've never really understood exactly what happened. You know, you can't get the personal take of what went on. So having talked to people who have been there and served, it opened up my eyes to what truly went down.
We all came in right down there, and right straight up, they had a big ammunition dump there in the airport, and the first bomber to come back in come right down to this end. We brought those 2 truckloads of ammunition in and gave them to the 28th Marines right about over here. And that's when they come down and said, well, if we could have, we'd have gone down and kissed you for getting that ammunition. That was a long time ago.
I talk in terms of, what valiant service young men and women of their same age did back in World War II, and how the young Marines and sailors and others who were 17, 18, 19, they fought beyond what anybody had any right to expect from them. And I'm sure that the young people today would do the same thing if properly challenged.
The Japanese veterans and the American veterans get together on Iwo Jima for a joint reunion of honor. And it's a very unique reunion of honor because as far as we can determine, it's the only occasion where former enemies get together and talk about never again. So it's an alliance-binding event between Japan and America. The war is long over. We're now not only friends, we're allies. And so it's a very historic and memorable event.
The Japanese don't have any place like Arlington. And I guess for them, this is probably the closest thing to that. It's sacred ground for them. It's where their people sacrifice their lives. It's where Americans sacrifice their lives. And one day a year, they allow us to go back and remember those from both sides who sacrificed for their country.
You know, most of those people, they were just like our families. You know, they lost a loved one, and these people have been through the same thing we have. And I think that the better we can cooperate, the better off we'll be as a country.
It's been very moving for me and for all the veterans to have these young Marines with us. First of all, they're the cream of the crop from the Young Marine program. So they're already interested, they're already educated, they're already motivated to come on this tour.
This is great. Just to think, 69 years ago, those speeches out there were being stormed by Marines. And to be back here is just an amazing experience, and yet lives up to the reputation of once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Yeah, it's great. You know, these guys are not much older than I was when they signed up, but they're already well on their way. And I'll tell you, this country is going to be in good shape. Just a few years down the line when these guys get a little older, because every one of them I've met, I admire them. I really do.
You might as well stay standing because you're going to be there in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, your National Young Marine of the Year, Young Marine Sergeant Major Blake Lewis.
When I joined the Young Marines at 11 years old, my ambitions included making it through recruit training, and not much beyond that. To be standing on this stage right now, bearing this cord, being held to the caliber of some of the finest Young Marines to ever wear the title, means more than words will ever be able to describe, and to even attempt would be doing this honor a disservice. So unfortunately, I cannot answer your question and describe what this means to me, sir. I can only demonstrate over the course of the next 12 months.
I've become a very big fan of the Young Marines because I've seen over the years people who have gone through this program, and their lives have changed. They've just changed dramatically, and they've become young adults, and they're all successful. And it's like being a father or an uncle when you see your kids grow up and become something special. And that's what the Young Marine program is. It's something special.
It's been such an amazing opportunity. This whole program has changed her life, my son's life, my life, in so many ways that I can't even possibly list. And because of all the knowledge she's pulled from people, and just the fact that it has given her so much self-confidence in what she can do, and that she knows she can handle anything that comes her way.
You know, as middle schoolers and high schoolers in this program, we're in the mix with everything else. We still play sports, we still do choir and band, and we're very, very active in our school communities, and we see all of our friends doing these same things, but maybe they have nothing else. And we know that we as Young Marines have that one thing that's going to propel us forward, if nothing else but allowing us to know ourselves. We know who we are, we know what we want, we've determined our moral compasses, we know where we want to head in life, and because of that, it's easier to achieve your goal once you've defined it. And so that is what Young Marines does. It helps you, look at all the opportunities presented to you and then define what you want to do in life and define yourself meanwhile. So going on through that, all of these Young Marines have something that none of their peers ever will, and that's the self-confidence and the ability and the training to go out there and just conquer all of their dreams.